and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. We are the Dadley Boyz of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflet and Michael Sidgwick of What Culture to review everything that happened on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Where we do daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review AEW Dynamite, but also AEW Collision, Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. Pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete. A bloody good quiz, of course, on Wrestle Culture. As I said, though, joined by Hamflet and Sidgwick to review last night's Dynamite. What do you make of the show, Sidge?
I thought it was mostly very good. Mostly very good, trifecta adjacent. I think got 2.5 out of the trifecta 3. It was better promos and matches than angles, but thought some of the matches were fantastic. One of the promos was just brilliant. 2 of them you could probably even describe as brilliant. And there were some directions that were teased that, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Maybe not the time to tease them, but the actual teasers alone were fantastic propositions.
Michael Hamflet, you were writing ups and downs for whatculture.com. What did you think?
Yeah, good show, but I was, same as Sid really, I think I was more excited at the stuff that they were teasing and stretching out than anything else. Loved the sense, like, it's not one specific thing, so it's probably worth mentioning now. Loved the sense that MJF as a world champion was back as the target of a lot of different people in a lot of different stories. There was a feeling, again, that this roster isn't just boxed off into their own individual programs, which I really love in general. I didn't love the whole show, but it's like everything, like with the build to Wrestle Dream, I'm not particularly buzzed by these episodes, but I just have a good feeling about a lot of the different directions. So it's exciting stuff's right round the corner. I just don't think we're quite there yet.
On the MJF teasers, right? Do we think maybe an overcorrection has happened in which AEW is very in tune to criticism? Not as much as it used to be, or I would like it to be, but I still think they have their finger on the pulse, realize where the bread's buttered, all of the rest of it. I think one of the big criticisms of many faced by AEW this year, and more specifically the last few months, is that the world title has taken a backseat to the Friendship, Better Than You Baby, the ROH World Tag Team titles, inexplicably, some feel, on pay-per-view. Is lining up a horde of challengers for MJF a direct response to that? Maybe something that was in the plans all along? And has it come at the expense of receiving Jay White as this, he could be the one, he could be the one? I suppose, and I'm jumping ahead, there's nothing stopping my imagination, my synapses firing, and thinking, what if Wardlow costs him? And they can spin off into a grudge program without the belt. So maybe I'm being too harsh, but it does feel like they're signposting a lot after what feels now like an inevitable Jay White loss.
You've got to strike that balance, haven't you, in terms of, like, you can't say, well, these other people want to fight for the title next, because you're like, oh, cool, so Jay White's not winning it. But also, you don't want to be like, does no one else care about the world title?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point.
Hey, just call me butter, baby. I'm on a roll. Right, let's dive straight in. What do you think of that? Sorry, I've just completely cut you off there.
Yeah, much of what you said. You know, like, it's all just fine at the moment. Like,
It's better than that, really.
No, it's not. Like, I wish it was.
though.
They've caught a lot of criticism, and it's high time. And I think this is a pivot from that, but also, like, Adam Cole's injured. So even if that was the central plot, like, what we've seen of Adam Cole has been terrible. Like, universally disliked, probably more than anything else. Even more than the criticisms towards MJF's title run has been how Adam Cole's been featured lately. And with him being on the shelf, even if it was going to be a turn or something to do with the Kingdom or another match or more tagging together, there's been no sort of discussion about the Ring of Honor tag belts future despite Cole's injury. It stands to reason that you would be lining up more than just one challenger. I love as well, like, there's something else in wrestling we've talked about, and I can't remember which podcast it was. I love the overworked challenger story anyway. I think it's a really good one to tell because it's logical. Theoretically, there should always be so many challenges that the diary is always full. And sooner or later, that catching up to a challenger allows for a surprise title change.
The champion.
The diary getting full allows for a surprise title change, which, as we saw with FTR, is something that AEW likes to do. Every now and then you should be wrong-footed once in a while. And with so many people lined up, yes, it feels logical that MJF will at least make it to Jay White, which makes the next couple of weeks captivating. But you don't know. And I think that's how you should feel when a champion's had the belt this long, especially. Like at some point, the clock's got to start ticking. Otherwise, it just starts to get dull. This is where MJF's at now in the run. It shouldn't just be pay-per-view cycle challenges, I don't think.
So let's dive straight into it. It was Jay White in action against Penta to start the show, and Penta, realizing that the rest of the Bing Bing Ging were there at ringside, wiped them all out, dived onto Juice Robinson, the Guns, and Card Blade, and then dropped White with a sling blade on the floor and a double stomp off the top to officially start the match. Penta hits a float over backstabber for a 2 count straight away. Colton tried to trip up Penta, but the distraction was good enough to allow White to come back and hit a DDT to take control. White ties up the mask of Penta to the ropes, but Bryce Remsburg immediately just unties it to take us to... Thanks, love. Take us to the break. When we come back, Penta avoids a backdrop, hits multiple sling blades. White gets hit with a somersault dive to the outside. We go back in and they do the chop battle with Jay White being like, take your top off, to balance things out. Penta obliged, and I even asked you what it was to follow that up.
I hadn't seen it before.
Jay White took him out of the knee, and then ran into, I've written down, fireman's carry spinning slam thing. I think Taz called it the Jack and Jay.
It was awesome.
Looked great, that
absolutely awesome move.
Penta runs into a Uranagi and a brainbuster for 2. White hits a dragon screw and a sleeper suplex. Penta avoids the Blade Runner, though, and hits a Made in Japan for a nice 2 count. But then here comes Bullet Club Gold to run distraction every which way. Robinson nails Penta with the left hand. White hits the Blade Runner, 1, 2, 3, Sidge.
I cannot recall a match that with one sequence and one chapter of it, if you like, that just grabbed me, chokehold, and I was into the finish, because for the longest time, think of it like this. This is the line of accomplished, well-worked, gentleman's 3. And then the top comes off, and that's the cheat code, isn't it? Hogan ripped his top off, right? Garza takes his chaps off. Okada takes the flares off and goes back to the trunks.
Yeah, that's
if a wrestler removes an article of clothing, not to be Jim Ross about it, I'm instantly in. If a male wrestler rips off an article of clothing, I'm like, well, this is great now. What more have we got?
You at Capital Carnage when Jeff Hardy takes top off and you just squealing. He's
doing it. Like, genuinely, like, I was just not really grabbed by this. A lot of people in that building were. So I'm on an island here. It's always important. It's always important to say this is really over in the building and it worked for the fan base. And it's a boring bit of critique, but it's nonetheless true. I don't want to be these... I hate it when people say, this match sucked. It's like, well, it didn't. I didn't care for it personally, and it didn't move me in any way. But look at the crowd, listen to the reaction. Like, maybe I'm just a bit jaded or whatever. But this got me, like, big time when they started doing that. It felt like for a brief moment, and everything that followed was pretty electric after that. But this is more boring than good. It just got really, really good and then finished on a high.
Nice to have a bit of a packed house with all the Mystico ticket sales as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think the atmosphere helped it enormously. No, I just felt like that chop battle was such a cool idea. Like, honestly, just take it all off, because that's when things work better. I just, the investment, it was like a light switch went off, and I was mad into it. It felt, for a few fleeting seconds, like the diamond sharp mind of Jay White had a great idea to elevate and build and peak a match, and then you had that really cool, badass version of Penta from all of those years ago actually squaring off. It felt like the match graphic for a hot minute.
I'm the bad analyst that said this sucked when it probably didn't, because the building liked it. I thought it was put like the mid-carders. I felt so little for this. Jay White isn't a title challenger, and I've had to come to terms with that. This was Penta's dead. Penta's absolutely finished. Like, as a threat. Like, he's not the guy he was. Like, he's neither this terrifying, like this guy that used to be a terrifying heel that's now just a crowd-pleasing terrifying heel. He's not that. He's not a threat. Like, that spot where, like, he couldn't, like, he tried and kind of failed to tie the mask to the ropes, and then Bryce Remsburg, right,
saved his ass.
Undid it, but let's be honest, it wasn't working. I kind of groaned when he did it because I was like, oh, Penta's getting his mask tied to the ropes again. And then when it failed, I was like, yes, that kind of sums up all of this. I just couldn't care less about either of these two, and I thought this was pretty damaging to Jay White. I'm the total opposite on the chop battle. I felt like it was so delayed as to be quite like pantomime. I was, get on with it, lads. Like, it's just...
What?
And
They went mental for it.
The opposite of invested in these guys. And, like, the finish is fine, but... Like, this is why I sometimes defend skits and bits, right? Because there's absolutely no place for this Adam Cole Kingdom nonsense. Oof. But I don't think Bullet Club Gold are any better than when they're backstage farting around. Genuinely, I do.
It feels increasingly like a mid-card act.
Yeah.
And it's only when you put them in the orbit of a world title that gets brought into focus.
Like, I love Juice Robinson having fun with the post-match promos as much as anybody. But I don't buy it as top-line stuff. I don't sort of buy these guys as a group as MJF rivals, like to the point where like the Guns have got their own bit as part of this now. 2 words, Guns Up. It's like reminds you of that when DX was a quartet, but as comedy DX, even Triple H knew that was going to lower his ceiling. It was like, I'm gonna have to break this up, lads, because I want to be a main eventer. And Jay White doesn't, and it's different when he heals. But I thought this was I think this might have even gone better on the card. It kind of put me in a bit of a low mood for Dynamite. I needed something to like lift the energy. They're not main characters, either of these guys, and I couldn't buy in as a result.
So post-match, Jay White gets on the mic and says, cut my music, like MJF usually does. It says, MJF sucks, he isn't here. But don't worry, an elite champion is Jay. He said, basically, MJF's taking his sweet time answering his challenge to the multi-man match to get the Bang Bang belt back. Because he's got no friends, effectively. And then Juice Robinson, rock hard, Juice Robinson gets the mic and says, spoiler alert, tonight he's going to win the Dynamite Dozen Douchebag Rattle Royale. He's going to chuck 11 people over the top rope. He's going to win the stupid ring and pawn it because his TJ Maxx one is much better. Cubic zirconium! And when he wins, he's going to get another gold tooth. And Austin Gunn does the Guns Up bit.
Jay White is not grabbing me by the scruff of the neck and showing me that he's got what it takes to be the top heel in this company, or at least convince me that he's got so much momentum and conviction and that I cannot. I was just like, all right, okay, Jay White's talking, I might go on my phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's not leveling up to that. He hasn't got that main event aura for me right now. He had it at points in New Japan. And again, it's the dichotomy of Jay White every single time. No one can really make their mind up, which suggests to me that you do not have that that intangible that the tippy-top stars actually do. I think people talk in circles around the fact that he does or doesn't. I think if he did, a lot of people would just unanimously go, that's the guy. It just feels like he's saying some words obnoxiously. Like,
do you think it's a bit like the 5-star match feeling? If you even have to question it, it's not 5
yes,
stars.
It's
a bit like that with
it's
Jay
a bit
White
like that with Jay White. If you have to question it, then he isn't a top guy. I don't know. I think he's so talented. I think he's such a good in-ring craftsman. But it's like, I get what he's doing. He is a proper ratty dickhead. I'm going to cheat. Why wouldn't I cheat? I am a capital H heel, and I'm really obnoxious with it, and I've got no pretensions otherwise. I don't want to entertain you. But then you have to be a bit entertaining as well. Like, he's not this captivating presence.
I think with Bullet Club,
He's very studied, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't want to come across as a hypocrite with Bullet Club Gold and Jay White, because I was a huge fan.
You loved him when Punk was on Collision.
Yeah, and to that point, when Collision still existed before they finished it, wrapped it all up before All In.
Yes.
Like, the thing with Bullet Club Gold is, when he was just arsing around with Juice Robinson, we all agreed, what the frig are you doing with Jay White? He's way above this. And that proved to be true, but like, he reached the level he was above, and then he went right the way at the top, and it's like, oh, no, not that high. Like, you're there, actually, not there. And I think, unfortunately, you only see that when the people get pushed. That's happened in the 4 Pillars program. At some point, it's like, well, are these pillars or not? Like, what are we doing here with these guys? Let's put them in a title program and see. And sometimes, and again, I think Jay White's probably better than, like, all the pillars. Well, at least 2 of the pillars. He's got more main event pedigree, and he's already had that in New Japan. But yeah, I think sometimes you just have to see it for yourself. And again, to compare it to that era of DX, Triple H wasn't ready for the first 6 months of his push either. Sometimes you need the right program, and this maybe isn't it. And I just think it's been laid bare. Like when they were first getting over on Collision, yeah, it felt like, here we are, finally, right, Jay White is where he belongs. But it's like, yes, in tag main events against FTR, because that's an upper mid-card thing. The gap between upper mid-card and main event is pretty big, and sometimes you don't see it until it's happening in front of you.
So Renee Paquette is backstage with MJF. He is there, actually. And he says, look, I could have run out there and got my ass handed to me like every single dumb good guy. But lucky for me, I'm not a good guy. I'm a scumbag. And I'm out later commentating on the beautiful Diamond Ring Battle Royal. I'm not going to waste an entrance pop on the Bang Bang Gang, basically. And he says, I actually do hope Juice Robinson wins
And he got a big-time entrance pop as well.
Yeah. He says, I do hope Juice wins tonight because it's going to be the left hand of God versus the right hand of the devil. I like that. Hand stuff.
So you like hand stuff, do you, Wilborn?
Yeah, well, I love a bit of hand stuff. He's asked about Adam Cole. Nice old-fashioned. But Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed come in to ask about his partners.
This used to be a goddamn wrestling show.
This used to be a goddamn podcast.
Billy Gunn and the
What
Acclaimed.
is that Brett video that's been doing the rounds? I think, what the hell happened to pro wrestling?
Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed come in to sort of say, you know, if you need partners, we're right here. And Max Caster says, look, we can accept the challenge, and then when we win, we can all scissor. And MJF politely declines, let's say. And Caster says, well, I'm going to be in the Battle Royal tonight. I'm going to win. And I'm going to beat you and win the ring, and then I'm going to force you to put a ring on it. And MJF just storms off, and Anthony Bowens berates Max Caster for the way that he's doing this. And Billy Gunn says, that guy's such a scumbag. And Caster with heart eyes says, yeah, but he's my scumbag.
It's not clicking, and yet I kind of want them to stick with it. There was something in the Battle Royal, I know jumping ahead, where I felt as if something had worked enough to make Max Caster feel like a possible winner and make that thing with Juice dramatic when it had no right, because the winner was, you know, the outcome was
Stone
really
Cold in the
predictable.
Rumble, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally. So the backstage stuff and the actual chemistry when they're together isn't there yet. I kind of feel like this is worth persisting with. I'm sort of on the hook, but I'm not even sure what I'm on the hook for. Are they the attackers? Are they, something about their anti-chemistry is making me want them to keep going with it.
MJF and Caster, I don't necessarily like the undertones here. I'll just leave it at that. When they become mates in the ring, when MJF scissors Max Caster, the pop is going to be out the ass.
Is this going to piss people off again? Because, another story about friendship. It's like, well, people like that now. The fan profile is changing. Like, is that going to annoy people? Because it's not going to feel like I'm not one of these critics, by the way. Is that not like going to feel to some people like a retread of the Cole thing?
Did anyone say this when Rhodes and Volkov?
No.
Or like, you know, when Warrior and Hogan.
Yeah.
I respect his
At WrestleMania 8.
Yeah, it's better than the fight itself, but like people hate it now. It's
Mankind in the Rock.
Yeah, I love it. It's better than the fighting.
This has happened forever.
Punk and Wardlow's moment was just, Jesus Christ.
This has happened.
They just nodded their respect at each other. Like, that's...
Like, I get it. There's a different way of telling stories about friendship. It could just be two badasses being badasses together instead of going a little bit deeper as Cole and MJF and, you know, Sammy and Jey Uso did. But it's been a thing.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend it was never like, you know, part and parcel of the millennial fan experience from the day. There's a little blob of spunk in your father.
Yeah.
It's not my line, by the way. It's not my line. But carry on, Wilborn. Be professional.
You don't think of the blob on the inside, do you? You think of the blob on the... Yeah, do you think of them as the swimmers on the inside?
I thought you were talking about Johnny's there.
No, Christ, no. don't need them anymore.
Move on.
Talking about scissoring.
Move on.
That's scissoring that counts at my age.
No one wants this, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, I apologise for this getting too crude. I made it crass.
It was his fault. He started it.
Yeah, fair. It was Hikaru Shida versus Emi Sakura next, a title eliminator match. Hikaru Shida makes her entrance, and Sakura uses this as a chance to jump her from behind. It's teacher versus student, they're saying. There was a video package set up as well beforehand.
Someone tweeted that Excalibur I think it was Trevor Dame, Excalibur must have recorded this worrying about his neighbours waking up when he did the pre-record because I couldn't hear it. And it's like spot on. It's like, what are you saying?
When was it announced? Like sort of 2 hours before showtime? Do you think he was like at the desk at the time?
That's one explanation. I've just thought of another. Either the explanation is, I think it was Trevor Dame outlined that Excalibur pre-recorded it at home, like really got the text really late and got the copy really late and thought, I don't want to wake up the neighbors. Okay, so Emi Sakura, a nice ribbon. Emi Sakura. Or Tony Khan told Excalibur, X got another job for you. Ever the professional. Excalibur says, yes, Tony, what can I do? So we're going to run a video package ahead of a women's match. And Excalibur was like so stunned that a little bit of effort had been made, that he was just recording his lines just while recoiling in shock. Well, I can't believe I'm doing this, but Emi Sakura was a nice ribbon and she trained Hikaru Shida. It's like, sorry, I'm just bowled over.
Option C, they just recycled an old video package from when these two fought before and just like thought, oh, the sound isn't quite right with this latest one. Just like turn it down a little bit. Like, can't be arsed, women. Just shut them idiots on that podcast of dumb Brits.
So Sakura fires off some chops. Shida comes back with forearms and the machine gun chops in the corner from Sakura. Shida hit the crossbody. There's a pumping knee in there and a rolling crucifix for 2 and punches in the corner. Shida missed the follow-up crossbody. Sakura nailed her in the corner and take her to the outside as we go to a break. When we come back, they brawl to the outside. Sakura sprints down the ramp, but Shida Hurricane Ranas her. They go back inside. Shida hits a huge missile dropkick for 2. They sort of trade finisher attempts and near falls, but Sakura hits her with the high stack Tiger Driver for a nice 2 count.
Right.
Oh my God.
I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
Sakura goes up top, misses a moonsault that allows Shida to hit the katana knee, but Sakura explodes out of 1 and gets a La Magistral for a really close 2 count as well.
Oh my God.
She's the best in the biz at doing that move. She's awesome at it.
I want to say as well that like I think that little bit might have been improvised because of the whiff a little bit on the katana. I think we're not going to.
But she's a pro, obviously. She's a massively experienced veteran pro.
This isn't the finish, loser. We're going again. I'll Magistral you, then we'll do it. Like I thought that played out brilliantly compared to when you see a lot of what was there on NXT. I've done it now.
Yeah.
I've been you.
Finish.
Get out of here.
They trade Tilt World backbreakers. Shida hits the Falcon Arrow and hits after a kick out. Just goes, I'll just kick your head off then. It's the
guitar. That last section felt like bonus content. Like, oh, well, we go again.
Here's the katana knee, 1, 2, 3. The title wasn't on the line, but she beats Emi Sakura.
Really enjoyed this. Short, snug, like really physical. Jim Ross would have liked this.
Yeah.
Jim Ross would have bloody loved this. Because it was physical. The physicality, of course. That's what I'm referring to. I've always had this thing with Shida where I can completely understand why she's over. I've thoroughly enjoyed the very best Hikaru Shida matches, almost as much as anything in AEW. I think she's so good at the finishing sequence. Like, she's so good at crafting that one near fall where you're like fist pumping in your living room because you kind of believe that you get more of this awesomeness. The rap on Shida for me is that sometimes she doesn't look like she's laying it in properly. Some of her stuff can look a little bit tepid, and that thought was banished from my head when she did the knee to the gut reverse of the crossbody. I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm surprised Sakura carried on. I thought, she's got to be badly winded from that. And then, no, she wasn't winded. In fact, she did this awesome display of cardio for that pinning sequence. And then, did you watch it on Fight? Of course you did. We're in the UK, and that's the way to watch it.
I flew over to the stateside. TBS.
Yeah, she was awesome in picture-in-picture as well. She did the, what's the move? Like the inverted tombstone setup where you've got them hooked them by the arms. Mm-hmm. She did that for like 30 seconds straight and then just flipped her over into a backbreaker. Like, she held her up for an awesome amount of time. Like, summoning dread, like the core strength. More Emi Sakura.
Yeah, I thought this ruled. Like, Emi Sakura, just in general, tends to deliver when put in these positions. But it's also, like, wishy-washy, isn't it? Like, you're there. You're not even a challenger for the week because this wasn't even a title, but you're just a challenger of the week type figure.
Didn't she just lose very recently as well?
Yeah. Like, well, I think this was as much as anything.
Didn't she lose all of the time as well? Yeah.
As much as anything, this was, I love it when you have the chemistry of either best friends or mentor teachers where they can just lay it in, and there's obviously all that trust and all that chemistry. It's great. If you're going to rush, I'll say this is like the best version of kind of AEW's worst thing, because if you're going to rush a women's match on television at the last minute because you forgot that you're supposed to have one, it should feature the champion, because when nobody gets a high-profile role, for God's sake, give it to your champion. Give it to Shida and give it to Statlander until somebody else wins the belt. And B, give it to somebody that's going to give that champion their best possible match, because that's what these bookings are. They're just rush bookings with no story, with no obvious look. Even in the singles matches here, we're talking about, well, what direction is the winner going to go off in? Why was this loser selected? You never really get to do that with a women's division. Not really. Outcasts a little bit, but otherwise not really. So just put your best foot forward, and that's what this was. Like, Shida has a chance yet again of becoming that credible women's champion that nobody loves in their guts, but really, really likes if you just book matches like this. Like, and that's probably, like, that's her ceiling, realistically, in AEW. You saw more force stuff like this.
So there was a women's match in the first hour. One last thing to do then, before we get to the name of the game. What's the aim of the game, Sige?
The aim of the game is to identify to the hour, minute, and second the first note of the first entrance theme for the first woman to emerge for the only women's match on Dynamite, to underscore, italicize, and put in bold how apathetic, obligatory, passionless this entire approach to women's wrestling in AEW is for the most part. We used to play this game when every single week it was the second to last match, the penultimate match. So it always was in that 1 hour, 22 to 25. Doesn't really work anymore. They've tried to cheat in the most obvious way possible. Basically, you sat in a school exam, right? This is how much they're cheating. You sat in your school gym, or the school hall. The gymnasium.
Study hall,
or wherever they do their tests. Or maybe even in class. I don't know where you do your tests in America. We always used to do it in like the sports hall.
After
basically.
recess.
We used to do
SATs.
SATs.
We call them SATs.
Yeah.
GC, whatever. You do it in the...
You're chasing that 4.0.
You do it in the sports hall, right? And their way of cheating, not always in the penultimate match, guys, and the division actually counts and we care, is to just swap it around a little bit. Their version of cheating is to be in the sports hall. The invigilators...
Yeah.
Are walking up and down, making...
Did you?
Yeah. Imagine that.
How did you do that? Like, I could just imagine...
How are you allowed to school? And so you do that up and down, and the teachers are there, and it's the equivalent of just getting the calculator going. That's how obvious the cheat code is here. That's the aim of the game, of course. Jesus Christ. The name of the game. As well, this is Ladies' Night, and I'm thinking, what a night.
Change it up. Next up, that's his gump. I was into that. His second gun casualty in as many days. It's become law into itself at this point. I like watching him move.
I think the good thing about AEW is that there was no space for any other women's matches on the show. No. It's not like they had 2 carbon copy squash matches on the show. No. They could have swapped out for a women's match.
Arguably 3 if you include a promo about another carbon copy squash match.
Michael Hamflett won this week. Shout out, as always, to Adam Blair at Adam Wilton 4 and Jose Palomares at the Ho 11, the guys who always take care of the
data
for this sort of thing. What was our guesses, Michael Sidgwick, in descending?
I'm never going to learn.
I'm never going to learn. Can't be f***ing asked.
Don't put that in the finals.
Had there, lads.
You were an invigilator. Right, let's go.
Oh, hang on.
GPA, grade point average. Is that right?
How are you not walking up and down the desk going, I think that's wrong. I'll have another look at that.
We had Asbo Row, I remember. We're going to stand on the...
that is so...
You're a piece of shit, mate.
That's classist. That is so classist.
Trust you should have been in the school.
Should have called it Asro as well.
Yeah, I got at least get the wordplay right.
So according...
You're a garbage, you.
That's great.
Honestly, a total dickhead. Total dickhead. According to my text message, the latest one is...
we're doing the game?
No, we're not doing that game. Salmon ham bread.
Wait.
Yeah, I always need something from the shop.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
We do the Hello Fresh, and then we run out, and then we think, do we just set aside 20 minutes to write a proper shopping list and get a delivery, or do you just go day by day?
Yeah.
So we're going day by day at the minute.
Speaking of watching on TBS, by the way, they keep running adverts for Panera Bread, And I know it's not just a bread shop, but I welcome our like American listeners or viewers or whatever to let us know like what the sandwich quality is like from Panera Bread, because that family getting together around a Panera Bread looks absolutely good. And this is like sometimes like 2 a.m. I'm thinking, well, I'm full of cereal, and yet now I want that sandwich. America's the best.
Yeah,
America's the best, man. Don't need tea in America.
No. Always be eating.
Well, we'll go the other way to
The other way.
for Hamflet, because it makes more sense. In last place, me, 1 hour, 22 minutes and 31 seconds. Up next, Wilborn, cheeky bastard, 1 hour, 21 minutes, 59 seconds.
Forgot about that.
And your winner, 0 hours, 45 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah.
It's Michael Hamflet.
First hour faith in when we previewed it, a match that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like we were booking, when's Tony Storm going to rock up?
Yeah, Tony Storm squash, I think we were booking. It was, thanks Adam Blair, 26 minutes and 50 seconds.
There you go. Second hour next week. Banker.
Yeah.
They switch it up.
They know what they're doing.
We're wise to their game.
So Renee Paquette is backstage with Adam Copeland, who says things haven't been exactly going smoothly since I showed up in AEW. I don't understand why that is. The whole reason he came was to end his career with teaming with Christian Cage, who seemed on board, but then the closer it got, the less he seemed to want it. He talks about them meeting in 6th grade, Cage being the new kid, and him being sent out to talk him in, and sharing the love of wrestling. They became best friends. They go through life. There's an essay contest to get free wrestling lessons. Adam wrote in, Christian just didn't. Adam gave Cage the confidence to train, and then Adam gets the dream gig. 6 months, he keeps talking about Christian. He genuinely thinks that Christian is the most underrated wrestler of all time. And it says he's always been like Adam and Jay or E and C. But that's not my fault. And yet Cage has sort of let this fester. Cage always claims that Adam had a rocket strapped to his back, but that kind of minimizes what he had to do to get where he did. A part of him feels like Cage would not be where he is if it wasn't for him as well, to be fair. He doesn't want to think that way, but the proof is there. Renee asks him about jealousy and why he's surprised. And he's like, why are we doing this? Especially at this stage of our careers. We're godfathers of each other's kids. I never meant to take the spotlight away. I do not want to win the TNT title. I don't want Cage to, crash and burn. And she's like, well, what do you want then? And he says, I'm not going to fight Christian Cage. I don't know what this means for me. All I do know that is when eventually Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus leave Christian Cage high and dry, he's going to be there for when Cage hits the ground to pick him up.
I kind of love this.
I thought it was tremendous.
It was exposition heavy, but I think that's reasonable because you don't have to have read Edge's book or watched Edge talk on this subject. The many times he has. Their relationship obviously is as storied as anything else in his career, but they shouldn't assume that of AEW fans. I couldn't have loved this more, really. Yesterday on the preview, I said, let's just get to the match graphic. And I was dead wrong, because rather than just flashing it up right now, they've instead moved it as far away as they possibly can.
Neither guy wants it.
Yeah, Christian will no-sell all of this, whereas Edge, by not wanting the match, is in fact selling it as the worst possible outcome, which is kind of inspired if you think about where those two characters are. To move from all of these stories, I mean, for on screen they were brothers for years, but to move from basically telling you he's spent his life as the bigger brother and now he's going to be the bigger man is basically copying the Bret Hart, Owen Hart homework. And we've said this before, if you're going to copy homework, just copy the best homework. There is a certain condescension to the things that Adam Copeland was saying that will justify Christian actually becoming quite rattled by this. But it is his role currently to no-sell that. I thought Adam Copeland measured this brilliantly as well, because there is a certain... You can come across as a bit patronising when you say, I told you to do the essay and you didn't. So this is kind of on you, if anything. Mm-hmm. All of this roots back to these little things being, I got you in the school. He is negging him, but it's done in such a delicate way that Adam Copeland remains the out-and-out babyface here. This is... I would delay this as long as you can justify, and it seems to me that they've set up both characters a way to justify doing that for ages.
Well, they're doing a 6-man, obviously, first. Set that up, I would do that, and then just do minimal Copeland Cage interaction when they do that trios match. Minimal. I'm with you. The idea that Edge doesn't quite want to do it, Copeland doesn't quite want to do it, and Christian is a sniveling coward, so he doesn't really want to do it either. It's fascinating. It's great episodic TV. How does this come together? It's not like like AEW signpost a lot. I don't know where the sign is for this. I don't even know where the direction is for this. I thought this is like actually masterful from Copeland's part. As you said, what he said could be interpreted and will be interpreted by Christian as patronizing, condescending, same old Adam, story of your life, and I want to end it pretty much. It was also the truth. Mm-hmm. This is the truth, I imagine, or they've sold it to me as the truth.
Yeah.
Regardless. So you've got the babyface just being out front, truthful. I love the idea of how do you feel? Don't know. Of course he's conflicted. Yeah. I thought the exposition to content to delivery balance was precarious, but genuinely like really, really good. There's always some of it in pro wrestling, but there are people who started watching wrestling well after the Edge and Christian lore in WWE just was over and done with, and they barely interacted really when they were sort of in their twilight years of their first proper runs. So you ticked literally every single box without it ever feel like, right, I'm getting to this bit, I'm getting to this bit. It just felt like this naturalistic chat. I honestly thought this was so well done.
In terms of signpost and destination, obviously it's easy to think of, say, like pay-per-views, and it's like, well, it's not going to be Full Gear now, so maybe it'll be Revolution or whatever. I wonder if they're a bit more savvy with this, and the kind of disastrous Canadian tour is a demon they want to tackle, and you could do some big business in Toronto with this first meeting.
You could, but unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is booked out well in advance of like maybe ironing out the details on Edge in Copeland's contract. I can call him Edge. I'm not going to.
But like, it felt like the need to fix Canada because they made a bit of a hash of it this year, didn't they?
Yes.
So like, there's a big date like in Toronto somewhere, or a big building that's like local to, that means something to both of them that you would probably get a monster house for as the first.
They've booed him in Toronto before, maybe. You know what I mean?
But like, if you think about that, that SmackDown thing with Sheamus, like a perfect send off from WWE.
Yeah.
And the first time he's back there is for this. It would be massive.
It would,
you know,
but just these, I think logistically, it's probably not. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Ryan Nemeth faced Wardlow incredibly briefly next. Nemeth, I mean, fair play to him. He did have a strategy. He thought, well, try and get Wardlow before he's ready. Charged at him, tried to fight off, and then immediately got hit with a huge powerbomb, and that was it.
He looked like the softest man alive.
Referee called it at that.
He's gone for good, and he ain't ever coming back. So get over it.
I'm never going to be CM Punk. That's 3/4 of the word on the ass of his tights, and he still can't be Punk. Total loser.
Post.
Brother's a loser too. Go off.
Can I just say that I'm not defending Ryan Nemeth here? Just to make that abundantly clear, I'm not Team Nemeth.
So,
said everybody ever.
I'm just anti-Hamflett, basically.
Following this murder, Tony Schiavone gets in. I did like the fact he started asking the question and then sort of was like, when he was close up to the corpse, I was like, oh, bloody hell. And then he said, what are you back for, Wardlow? And Wardlow simply held up his wrist tape that had the letters MJF written on it, and he shoves down Tony Schiavone and storms off.
Brilliant.
Could be read either way, this, I thought, as well. You automatically assume, oh, he's coming to kick MJF's ass. But the question was, what are you back for? And he just said MJF.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mystery. It's a better mystery than the attackers at this point.
Totally. I'm an advocate for them actually finding their way back together rather than feuding. Like, personally, I know that there's arguments for both, but I'd like to see them come together somehow. I kind of love this. I think it's the best version of, to your point, we had 3 on this show, which was bad agenting, because this was the best version of it. I'm banging a Wardlow again, which is a real achievement if you think about where they were at with him. And even if you are just going route one and he's coming to fight MJF and he wants to batter him, the justification for it is there, isn't it? Yeah. Like, this guy has ruined my life multiple times and I never got the true vindication, because when I did, he kind of stole the conversation anyway.
Yeah.
So there's
put that oxygen mask on his eyes or whatever.
Yes. There's loads of meat on the bones if it is just a straight up feud, but I'm not so convinced it is.
That's class.
Yeah.
Continues to be class. I would say maybe the one power bomb, I wasn't convinced by this. Like, it was a great execution. And look, you know, Nemeth took an amazing bump. You can't take that away from
It's in the family, isn't it?
You cannot take that away from the guy. Great bump. I would be wary of going a bit too much on that. Like, several brutal looking, but very safe. He's very good. Power bombs in a row. absolutely fine. Because if you can avoid the power bombs, you've got a chance against Wardlow. The idea that he can hit you with one and it be a knockout, a bit much for me. And I'm very lenient with the in-ring. Do what you want. Just don't take the piss out of me with the stories or the framework. Do what you want in the ring.
Yeah, treat yourself in there.
It's an Irish whip.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of them going, yeah, Wardlow is the devil, actually. His body shape looks a little bit different, I've got to be honest. Renee Paquette's backstage with Kenny Omega, who says his win-loss record's been quite putrid lately. And he thanks Carl Fletcher for challenging him, reminding him who he is. He's the litmus test, Sige. And he says...
Damn right.
He says, once I defeat Carl Fletcher and dispatch of the Don Callis family, who knows? Maybe it's time for the Kenny Omega of old to challenge for the AEW World title.
Press the friggin' button, Sige.
Don't worry.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Someone grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, and I think someone has.
It was great. Power's back.
Just instantly, it just feels right when he says something like that.
Watched his Mox promo, didn't we, yesterday?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God.
What a piece of business.
How'd the tournament go for you, John?
First try.
First try.
Anyway, here.
Things like that. He's such a knob. He's so good at being a knob.
I'm mic'd up.
Yeah.
Dim the lights.
I love it. Check. I want a hardcore match. Check.
A little hardcore match.
MJF comes in, and calls Kenny the measuring stick. Says he's always been a fan. He wants to shake his hand. He shakes his hand and he leans in and says, 13 days, bitch.
MJF, Kenny, and Collision then. That's not been...
I thought they were just excited about Halloween. Sorry, I got...
Kenny does like to dress up.
He does like to dress up. He does like to dress up. Are they doing that on Collision?
Maybe. Or Kenny just has to cope with the fact that MJF's going to break his record and that's going to motivate him to actually try.
They don't do out by accident, this company. Well, they do. But they are not making you think, hang on, does that mean that within 13 days we are going to get to Kenny Omega versus MJF match? Certainly that was the first thing that popped into my head. And then it's not there.
You could have the Callis family injure Kenny so he isn't able to stop the record being broken.
And this is like a long, long down the line.
Because I didn't have it as I think MJF breaks the record.
Yeah.
But Kenny has to live with that. And that's what annoys him. He's like, you know what, this year has been putrid. I need
He's got
to
an
fix
awesome track record, AEW, of... And it's, again, when people say, you know, it's not as good as it was as a promotion, to an extent I agree, but my God, they've got such an incredible track record of doing a match on TV or a match on a pay-per-view and then making you pay for it and anticipate the hell out of it for like $50 for the privilege. Cool MGF was on telly and they went 30 minutes and then the eve of All In, before the storyline frittered away a little bit, like the drama was out the arse for that. Hangman Omega doing the opener and then the closer of Full Gear, Punk MJF. Like, so the could basically, is what I'm saying, is do Omega MJF on TV. There's enough ideas between the two of them to like tell the next 3 years of AEW storytelling if you wanted.
It was just amazing. Lately, I've just not been feeling much watching AEW, and the last time I felt like this was when Paige and Swerve came together. We were talking about this in the office this morning. Like, Sid has got a great counterpoint to this point, but
a rated R rebuttal.
Yeah, it's nice to see the stars, the proper stars of this show, interacting with one another, and even if it's not like right now, you immediately know the match is coming, just because otherwise why they've been put on screen together. It's nice to have that feeling again, because it just felt like we went a long time where you were in a bit of a desert for this kind of thing.
One of the reasons why Tony Khan doesn't do this often is he loves a rotating cast. He embraces all styles as a booker, but he also very pragmatically has one eye on just matches he can do down the line. And sometimes I'm like, you're taking too long. I'm getting a bit bored, but I get it, because if you have a moment like this, like when you've got two wrestlers of that star quality interacting for the first time, and it feels like the seismic event of, I didn't think this was possible. Of course it is. You've had them under contract for 4 years or whatever. I get it. Maybe a little bit more balance is required.
Do you know what else I got from this as well? And this is almost in spite of the quality of the promo that we got later on. we were talking about like the Takeshita thing hasn't ever really felt like it's clicked. The Callis stuff, this made the Callis feud feel trivial by comparison. I was watching this thinking, there's Kenny Omega, there's a Kenny Omega match. He's been farting around, and he's not. They were earnestly working at a feud that they'd put the build and the effort into, and Callis had loads of lore. It should have hit more than it did.
It's weird how it hasn't really.
Yeah, but that suddenly made that feel like his like petty gripe and concern because this is the big boy thing, and that was great.
It's weird. I think this thing with Omega and Callis is that Omega is so phenomenal at so many things, and we'll get into that in the next couple of minutes. One thing he's never been particularly great at, and this is maybe a choice, is that fired up, 100% wronged, vengeful babyface. And when the character has just been betrayed, that's the babyface he needs to be realistically, but he just hasn't been it.
Yeah, remember the firing squad angle was amazing, and there was never any real fault.
Yeah.
He didn't put a lot of heat into it. They didn't feel like very credible heels either. So both sides didn't really commit to that split, did they?
It's so weird as well. This is a guy who can capture that emotion in 1 second, whereas some wrestlers do 500 promos will never do it. When he kicks out a finisher at 1, does that. It's like he's got that energy in him.
Yeah.
Someone needs to just grab him by the scruff of the neck and say, that energy you've got, do it in a promo.
Well, the thing about he was angry on Kota Ibushi's behalf in the Revolution tag.
Aye.
How dare you offend Kota Ibushi and thus offend my sensibilities? That captures all of that, doesn't it?
Cares more about Ibushi than himself.
Yeah.
Probably Kenny Omega's too nice a guy, man.
And apparently his taste in wrestlers is not what it was.
Right.
I mean, you like Raw, so.
It's true. Well, next we went to Roderick Strong's house.
You like AEW, so. Yeah.
Keep going.
Money.
Couple more.
No! 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 No!
That's enough of you.
Mike Bennett's playing the bongos and singing Neck Strong instead of Head Strong.
I trapped.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can do ironic new metal and make me resent it. I'm all about ironic new metal, me. Because I was very unironic, earnest new metal when I was a youth.
Yeah. I just remember this from being used definitely on a WWE pay-per-view or video game.
Yeah.
That's that one of them. Isn't
Yes.
Even if it's like Bernstein Bears.
Yeah.
They definitely have, even if they haven't.
Adam Cole brings him some coffee, but he spits it out saying he hates hot coffee.
Why do you fucking ask for it then, Roddy? To be fair, from what I've learned on my ongoing coffee adventure, it is better to make it with very boiling water, but allow it to mellow for the flavors to develop. So maybe Roderick Strong is telling Adam Cole the correct advice, but maybe he could just wait.
He's suggesting that,
because you've got to brew it boiling hot. So in fact, Adam Cole is correct.
do you think he likes it strong?
Huh? Strong says, because Adam
That's
Cole.
how I know things about coffee.
Adam,
So strong a week.
It's about the extraction, not really the inherent strength of the coffee bean.
That's it, yeah.
I'll just watch some guy on YouTube.
so Adam Cole's
Extraction.
Adam Cole's fizzing. He's going to storm off, and Strong apologizes and says, "Yo, you know what? I used to love when we were back in Ring of Honor when you used to make those good old PB&Js." And Cole gets a smile.
No! 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 No!
They're children.
You know what I loved when we were back in Ring
I
of
know that's the joke. They are children, and I hate them.
What I loved when we were back in Ring of Honor was when we were good. Unlike now.
What is this, man?
So a shout out quickly to John Harrison at Wrong Function on Twitter, who did this for the Dynamite review last week, because it's time for some slow-mo.
Oh, God.
Slow motion, peanut butter, jelly sandwiches being made.
Whoa.
And they're pulling faces and spreading it on bread.
I was actively telling my television, I'm sorry, to go itself here.
I thought you were going to say, I'm sorry, I love you, and then you super kick it.
No, honestly,
This was shoot disgusting.
I would have got so much catharsis out of super kicking that telly in this moment.
Yeah.
I had a visceral
Yeah.
reaction of total and utter, what are you doing? I hate this hatred. Like, what? Who thinks the slow motion's funny?
It's even the deployment of it. It's very, very WWE, and how it's like, you know, when Vince McMahon would tell fairy tales that he'd never heard before, so
Yeah.
you'd get the fairy tale wrong, and the whole that's not Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack and the Beanstalk didn't
This like they're not like comedy writers, they're pro wrestling guys. So they just when's slow-mo funny? Just whenever you want. It's just people doing stuff but slowed down. That's what makes it funny. No, that's not what makes slow-mo
No,
funny.
slow-mo is funny is when something's really fast.
Yeah.
And then you slow it down.
I'm making a sandwich.
So you can get like that. You can actually see the reaction from someone running away in fear, and people can do daft faces. Wilborn, do a slow motion. I'm running away because something terrifying is behind me. That's why he's on podcasts. But you know what I mean? You're right completely.
Like food, super slow motion, like a pizza advert, needs to be slowed right the way down so you can see the cheese separating.
Oh my God, the turtles ooze.
Yeah.
The turtles ooze.
Cartoon food, right? This wasn't,
Looks delicious.
it does. This wasn't even that. It was just like you just spread. You can barely make out the peanut butter. It's a spreading action. The arm is the slow bit. Ooh, slow wrist. Like you can't. It's not like he's taken out of the jar and he's like, actually, that peanut butter looks good. I'd have one of them. This wasn't an effective sandwich advert because believe me, I see about 10 Panera Bread ones across 2 hours. But like, it was just. I hate this. Like,
I hate it so much.
I was hardly the high guy. I just wasn't the lowest guy on these. I get it. This was miserable viewing. Miserable.
You knew it felt like a threat last week as well.
Yeah.
Because after the terrible one last week, Roderick Strong basically teed up that they're doing another one this week and say, Adam, I've just got one more thing I want you to do. And that felt at least like, all right, okay. Well, the thing I want you to do is about wrestling. That's fine. No, I want you to make some coffee and a sandwich. What?
For the whole week, he's been there.
You know when Mac and Dennis get that house in the suburbs?
Yes.
And it's always sunny. And this feels just as miserable as they are in there. The whole point
Except
of
that one's really funny in this.
yeah, it's incredibly funny. But you know how like it's intentional that it's supposed to feel almost too detached from not just Philly in the bar, but reality. Like what have they walked into they cannot cope with? Has Adam Cole been home in 3 weeks? And is that the question we should be asking? Like, has he gone home? MJF's was like sort of, he didn't get a chance to answer the question well.
He's at least been there 7 days because there was a 7-day gap, and that's why MJF hasn't been able to get in touch with them for a while.
Yeah. So, but is he going back? And if so, why? Because this is a miserable looking experience. This does feel like misery, actually.
That's what I said last week. If you put this in the vague context of pro wrestling, Adam Cole's a stupid babyface.
Yeah.
Like even if you've got this fondness and years of friendship with Roderick Strong, like you don't want to throw away, even though he's been a bit of a bitch, right? You're getting played, and you're an idiot if you can't see that. And he's fed up now. Should have been fed up last week. In fact, they should have just stopped the cameras there, throw them in the swamp in Florida.
If we count the confused, injury-prone Fish and O'Reilly era and this, 2019 NXT booked the Undisputed Era better than AEW. Because both these runs have kind of stunk. When you've put these characters together that you're so excited to watch finally merge on a different show that's supposed to be their happy place.
It's been highs, but it's not nowhere near the same.
No.
Like Kyle O'Reilly had a really cool spot in a 3-way at Revolution. A great match with John Moxley. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Strong has been vaguely amusing in this role up to a point. Cole's run has been so uneven.
Jericho was like face of God stuff. With Strong is like, oh my God, this is, I don't know what I expected, but this is 50 times better than I ever could have imagined. It's going to be perfect, and it's going to make Cole and Jericho even better. 1 month later.
Yes. Yes. I hate this so much.
So they've made the sandwich, not even finished yet. And Strong bites into it and then spits it out because he hates crusts.
Remember Matt Hardy?
Oh my God, I'm not being funny. I know the gag is at their children, right? But why would I enjoy this? My 5-year-old daughter, I cut the crusts off a sandwich.
Do you eat them afterwards?
No.
Do you not like crusts, Sidge?
Well, I like crusts,
We
but
take the
why would
crusts
I eat?
off.
Why would I eat discarded dry crusts just because it's food and it's there?
Food and it's in front of you.
Yeah, true.
Ask a silly question.
It's a very silly question. So I know that's the joke. Roderick Strong's being a baby. It's pathetic. Yeah. It's not funny. It's not.
Yeah. Trash.
So Cole's finally had enough at this point. He's furious. He's not been home. He
saw the crusts. They're not invisible crusts. Why did he have to? He only took the bite into it to do the
segment for 10 minutes.
I don't give a shit how long we take.
Vince McMahon.
We have to get it right. How bad it was.
Yeah.
They did. I don't like crust. Why giving it? We've seen it, so don't bite into the sandwich. But they have to do this bite into the sandwich to do the gross out side gag.
Yeah.
No one knows how to craft bad comedy in this company anymore. And the worst thing is, They can actually craft good comedy elsewhere. I've got 3 notifications. Sorry, I'm on YouTube, but I always think, what's going on here?
Gross out sight gag stuff is awful. I'm pretty sure for the 5-star review, Kid Icarus will let us know. We reviewed Matt Hardy eating pizza that time. You know, there's a pizza in his mouth and he's swooshing it around with a drink and looks, and you know that like Vince is watching, cackling backstage because he thinks this is what comedy is, gross out stuff. Like nobody, not a single living soul likes Roddy Strong eating a sandwich other than Vince McMahon. And somebody's showing him this tape. Maybe they're not so bad. Over there. It's like, he's eating a sandwich weird. Disgusting. They slowed that down as well.
Yeah. Some nice messages, by the way.
Good. Oh, that's good.
But, sorry. I just got like 10 at once, so I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on?
But
and then I'm still really annoyed about this.
Yeah, it's over, at least.
It isn't.
Not over. Not, I don't mean people like
finished.
It's finished. It's finished, all right. They're all finished. Podrick Pong.
So, yeah, Cole's finally had enough. He said, I've been here for ages. I haven't talked to Max in weeks. I'm still waiting to get surgery.
And he's not. That's all out there that he had surgery. So that breaks the immersion. Not that there is immersion, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And so he finally leaves.
Success.
Strong tells Bennett and Taven, I now know what I have to do to get Cole.
If this is on NXT, you would love it.
Context is everything.
Yeah.
This kind of belongs on NXT.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing.
They could have a...
Like, a sandwich eater is his gimmick.
Yeah, sandwich.
Roddy Sandwich. In fact, he was whinging injured guy as part of Diamond Mine. It was really funny.
I know.
Like, well, it did make sense in that context.
But he says, I know what I finally have to do is get Adam back. And that's be nice to that scumbag MJF.
Just say it out loud. So you know, instantly people know that you're insincere.
But at the death...
I know MJF doesn't watch the show, so there's maybe that, but
I'm not saying all's well that ends well, but like, all right, let's see then. Like, this is what this should have been all along, really, shouldn't it? Like, where does...
We were booking, have Roddy Strong say, I'll step up and be MJF's tag partner and defend the tag belt straight out the gate when Cole got injured.
And they could still do that. Like, Strong now, like, MJ, they haven't even
But
mentioned...
they said, we've got plenty of sandwich content we need to get in.
Don't forget that those lawns need mowing. Like, we've not yet
I
mentioned...
bought a giant giraffe.
who's doing this?
Well, the Ring of Honor
Who's writing these skits?
The Ring of Honor tag titles haven't been discussed, and nobody's saying, look, MJF, 30 days is coming up, you're going to have to work another handicap match, all that kind of thing. That feels like the play still, but why did we have to go through this? Like, Strong assuming Adam Cole's role in that tag team is great, I think, and eventually you get to the Kingdom match, and Roddy Strong's got to make a choice, and that's the drama I'm here for, but this has been dreadful. And I guess it's would they have even done this if Adam Cole didn't get injured at Grand Slam? Because that's when all this started. Like, have they just thought Skits is the answer because he's hurt, and it's just failed and bombed badly? I'm not calling it a noble failure. I'm just saying, was this ever on the cards?
I just feel like it's just so cynical.
It's rubbish.
I think they probably said, we're going to have Roddy and Max defend the tag titles at Full Gear. Max do double duty again, so which means we've got quite a few weeks to fill. So
the Dungeon of Doom. It's Hulk Hogan, doesn't really belong in WCW, but he's nonetheless a bit of a lucrative draw for the promotion. So let's just do more Hogan stuff and parody it, and eventually reach a point where it's like, well, you have to do something else. And it just sucks, and it's not drawn anymore.
And appropriately, it's not hard.
It's not hard.
Having said that, Strong not really helping MJF, but I could buy the opening tag match, closing main event again, and Jay White having the advantage of a knackered MJF. Like, if MJF injures his leg...
This version of MJF accepts Roderick Strong's help, serious questions must be asked.
Well, unless he helps him retain the Diamond Ring next week.
Well, we'll see.
Bing, bing, gang, and for counteracted by Taven Bennett.
I'll let it play out.
Roderick Strong, who can...
Proper Fed head side of the desk, where it's like, let's fix something awful, where you're like, just don't do the awful thing in the first place.
Yes. Right, Callis, Takeshita, Powerhouse Hobbs in the ring with Tony Schiavone. And Callis says, last week we did the unthinkable. We demolished Chris Jericho. Hobbs tells the story from the 22nd of February, 1998, I believe. He was supposed to be the greatest day of his life. The woman that raised him, his grandmother, was going to help him meet his hero, Chris Jericho. Front row tickets. Jericho told her to shut up and for him to sit down. He said he had 25 years of frustration, and he swore that day when he eventually got to look Chris Jericho in the eye, he'd hurt him over and over, and they air the clip of him, spinebuster. Callis says previously Hobbs has been told by people, or all the people he loves in life, to bottle up his hate and anger, but he's got a new family now, and this family wants him to be what he is, a killing machine. They're not done with Jericho even. But the family's on a roll. They're undefeated in 4 months, except for that one match where Sammy had been hurt by Jericho. And Don had to get a scab worker called Kyle Fletcher, and that kid let him down. He screwed the family. Kyle Fletcher comes out like, huh? He's like, Hobbs is there like just to make sure he doesn't proper kick off. And he's like, I did it as a favour to Will Ospreay because you were begging him. Maybe I was. You know what? Maybe I was the weakest link in that match. But tonight I'm going to prove to everyone, including you, Don Callis, I don't need anyone's help to beat Kenny Omega. And Callis is like, I like the confidence kid. If you win, maybe we'll have a chat next week.
Good news, bad news. The bad news is that Konosuke Takeshita, for all intents and purposes, looks like 2019 Wardlow, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. What are we doing? What are we doing? He's a total background figure. I was really quite annoyed by the framing of him. Not good. Good news is that Callis is banter sometimes. And bad news, again, is that Powerhouse Hobbs, if you felt that strongly about Chris Jericho, could have done something in the intervening 3 years.
I literally thought that.
A bit about the thing about Powerhouse Hobbs is people are told him to control his anger. Is that right, Team Taz and QTV? Is that what they've been saying? Slow down, pal. I don't recall.
I was completely with usage. The moment he said, on that day, I swore the first time I saw Chris Jericho, I was spinning across the crap out of him. I was like, really?
I think backstage attacks happen in wrestling all of the time. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be in a sanctioned match. And the idea of them trying to square it off, as Hamflet says, rightfully points out, no, that's never really happened. I hate when they get continuity wrong in this company because they're usually like almost to a fault, like incredible at it. And it's really good because episodic weekly TV is not the medium to do that, but they've managed it so often. So it really annoys me when they get it wrong. The last bit of good news is that Killing Machine, that should be his nickname now. But put it on a t-shirt, you might actually do a good one. Killing Machine Hobbs.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good nickname. Like, he's got a delightful turn of phrases, Callis. He's both good and bad.
I liked where this went with Fletcher. Scab immediately told you where everybody sat with everybody. And I think I preferred the match for it. Like, Sidge is going to talk at length and more lovingly than me, truthfully, about this match. But
You go first, then.
well, it's fine. But like, Kyle,
The amount of raw... I'm not doing it.
you like it more, and I'd like that. I'd be wasting my
So
breath
much better
compared
than
to your
anything you
analysis.
see on WWE TV.
Kyle Fletcher,
By like orders of magnitude, but carry on.
this changed the match for me from Kyle Fletcher trying to be like, oh, I'm an Aussie Open and I'm a bad guy, to actually I'm a baby face underneath this. I'm proving myself. He's kind of negged me, Callis here, into proving myself. And I preferred the match for that. I thought this was a really nice detail to add to the story of the match at the last minute. Fletcher, and look, it's fine. Everybody takes time and everybody has different skills. Had a little bit of the old Charlotte Flair, I don't need you anymore, in how he couldn't quite modulate his voice. Like Kenny Omega! Right, it was like, all right.
Did you get a promo class from Tony Khan?
It was a bit weird. Like, it was all a bit... Like, if you're watching on your big telly and you haven't got very good speakers and you, like, you know, on some Netflix shows, the volume's like that. Like, are you doing it mid-promo? Oh, well, all right. Like,
Game of Thrones is the worst for that.
Oh, God, some of those episodes specifically where you just... It's like... And you can imagine the fans like, we want you to lean in on the... on just more blue fog. About 20 minutes of blue fog.
Yeah.
It's a sword fight in the dark.
It's the biggest fight in Game of Thrones history. Can we actually see it then?
It's a light.
I'm doing the brightness up on my telly. What's going on?
It's a lights out match. No, the match was great. I'm not being a cynic about it or anything. It was just I knew that Sidgwick could love this way more than I did.
I'll forgive you.
I liked him as a sort of situational tweener for the match rather than the heel that he was going in as.
Yeah, Kenny Omega and Carl Fletcher had a fun little match, and then Danhausen and Vignette. I'm joking, of course, it was sensational. Omega sends Fletcher to the outside, slingshot crossbody, but Omega takes too long when they get back in there, and Fletcher hits a running drop kick and then just launches Omega into the front row. They get back in the ring. Omega floats over in the corner, quick Hurricane Rana, but Fletcher cuts off the Terminator dive, and they do a chop battle. Omega sets Fletcher up on a chair and sprints, but Fletcher hits a low drop kick, and Omega just clips the chair as we go to a commercial. When we come back, Omega's going for You Can't Escape, but Fletcher avoids the moonsault by rolling outside. Hang on, make sure we're on the right one there. That's going to get us taken off YouTube. But Omega does manage to hit a ridiculous moonsault off the ropes.
Oh my God.
Missile drop kick to the lower back, but Fletcher counters a V-trigger into a half-and-half suplex. A sprinting corner kick and a brainbuster gets a near fall for Carl Fletcher, and he hits that lawn dart and Michinoku driver for another 2 count. There's
the lawn dart.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. See that on Raw?
There's a
You don't, so.
there's a leg lariat in the ropes. Omega hits a V trigger, poison rana, high stack power bomb, and a flush V trigger for a 2 count.
God.
Kicked ass.
I did think at that point with Carl, I was like, Carl, just take it here because that V trigger is only going to get worse. Another V trigger off the back of that, but Fletcher nicely counters the One Winged Angel into the Dragon Sleeper. They trade counters. Omega hits a Snapdragon, and then with a running start, let's say, takes Carl Fletcher's head off with a V trigger. One Winged Angel, 1, 2, 3. Don Callis immediately on commentary calls Fletcher a failure.
I thought this is absolutely class. Like, absolutely class. Everything in it. There's like literally... Omega's stuff looks so incredible almost all of the time that when he does something that doesn't look 10 out of 10, how have you not given the guy a concussion? Because you just look so brutal with everything you do and you're so precise. And it's so, like, it's timing. Jeez, he's a master at this. That when he does something that looks, not that great, it stands out and takes me out. It's weird. It's like watching a botch in a Misawa Kobashi match. It just doesn't happen. Like the grazed missile dropkick, it's glaring because everything else just looked unfriggin' believable. Like 12 minutes did it go?
Something like that,
Just
yeah.
like an absolutely killer sprint. The story told of Fletcher just absolutely bound and determined to hang in there and do it the right way and just fight back with everything. Like a proper, this is the closest I think AEW's done better matches than like a night 4 or 5 G1. But this was a G1 match in how it was like sort of structured and worked, like absolutely full on
Sprint.
like it's sprinty.
Yeah.
Like this is like the second or third match where you know Omega's winning this because the maths mean he kind of has to or whatever. But just the physicality, the speed, the sprint, like total G1, vintage G1 energy in this. Like the kind of match that the person who's working the star is like, well, I've got Omega tonight. I know you're knackered, but this is my time to shine, so let's go out there. Like, it was absolutely awesome as a sprint, and the V trigger towards the end, when they're both just in the ropes, I was like, hands over my sort of eyes a little bit, and then I just, physically, I don't know how they did the bit where not only are you just rampaging across the ring, like using every bit of that rope for momentum, and then do a perfect, as you say, flush V-trigger, and then a somersault backwards bump at the same time. Just absolutely incredible bit of athleticism. The lawn dart looked deranged, like absolutely deranged. Like, again, the physical timing on this guy, there's no one better at that. You could probably argue that there's been better wrestlers, or there are people who are more well-rounded or whatever. No one can physically time their stuff like Kenny Omega to look like it as killer as it does. Like the Kenny Omega loves Street Fighter, and if you watch like even clips of the like the combos and stuff, the bit with the power bomb, lift you up, V trigger in the face, like it's just like bang, 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 absolutely great. And I loved, he hasn't done a moonsault in I do not know how long, and I think that was very pointed. Like he's outright said, well, I'll only do it on the big matches because he knows like it's really quite risky. I can't remember the last time he did a moonsault. But I think the idea was, one, he'd already told you the old Kenny Omega singles challenger champion is going to come back, and he's got what you could argue is one of the closest contenders to the next Omega snapping at his heels in this very match. And I think it was just very cool bit of storytelling that he's went, right, well, you know, the old Omega's still there, so I'm going to show you him to prove that I'm not, the crown is not being dropped just yet.
Yeah, that was my favourite thing about this whole match. The moonsault and the acute viciousness of the V-triggers felt like Kenny Omega was physically telling the story that he'd kind of foreshadowed in the promo backstage, which is not to say that the match wouldn't have been great anyway, but there was just so much more depth to this and texture than I would have thought to preview because we hadn't had that promo. If Kenny Omega had spoke like that on a road to, we'd already be thinking about it, but you were almost wrong-footed because he's telling the truth when he talks about his putrid year. Your expectations have been lowered a little bit, and they shouldn't. It's Kenny Omega singles match, but this was a different Kenny, like
Different gravy.
Like even the motivation of MJF talking about the title. That's why I think he's not going to get that match in time, because you're going to have to see more of this. This is only the beginning of Kenny Omega, like not unlocking a new level, just finding the old one. Fletcher having to defend that in particular. So Fletcher getting wound all over by Callis and thinking, I've got to stop Omega, and then not really being ready for the Omega he got, showed itself in the way that
He was awesome in this
came at
match, by
each
the
other.
way.
Yeah, like really, really good. Sort of, I don't know, like this was sort of situational to this version of the match. They would have a very different one where these characters are motivated by different things, and I like that a lot. The V-trigger cell where he flips made me think of that spot that you used to talk about, Sidge, before they'd ever fought, of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega hitting the V-trigger in the buckshot and the world exploding.
Yes.
Like, this was kind of the closest approximation of that because he flipped him. It's like, oh, that's the power of it. When one connects flush, that's somehow that, like, crazy bump feels like the realistic cell, and it shouldn't, because it's the daft. It's Marty Jannetty taking a frigging clothesline, isn't it? You know, but it's like there's something magic about that. This was great. There was a real energy in the air. I love Kenny Omega singles matches. Every time he has one, I get angry that there's not one every week. And I know you would get bored, and I know that's spoiled.
I wouldn't get bored, but it's more his body I'm concerned. That's what a Kenny Omega match in what probably wasn't, but looked like a near sellout Dynamite building. That was great. And on the subject of near sellouts, Wilborn.
Oh, yeah, Danhausen has a vignette.
No, on the subject of near sellouts.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, we have a live show. Apologies. I thought you were talking about him doing loads of merch, basically. Dadley Boyz are on tour, 21st of November at Mosaic Tap, whatculture.com/tickets. Very few tickets still available, in fact, for that.
That's why I teed you up with a line.
If you want to...
very, very few tickets available.
We are genuinely close to selling out, hence why I teed you up.
whatculture.com/tickets.
Yeah, more or less. If you can
whatculture.com/tickets. Be there or be square. Or in Hamlet's case, do both. Not being funny, I thought of that at the start of the podcast.
I saw that one coming as he said square. I was like, oh, God, my head's coming.
See, I've got an chin, which I don't.
There was a Danhausen vignette next, and then it was time for Lance Archer squash, which did pop me when the announcer said, kicking his opponent down to the ring.
Proper AEW,
That's what I mean.
Proper AEW.
Someone mentioned this in the comments underneath one of my tweets. Follow me on X at @msidgwick this morning. It's a different universe. How does the same company do the peanut butter slow-mo and then that gorgeous little detail?
One's comedy.
Yeah.
One isn't,
Barrett Brown, I think it was, tried to do a suicide dive, got chokeslammed on the apron. Release suplex, corner splashes. Brown tried to fight back and then just got hit with a step-up knee in the ropes and the blackout for the 1-2-3.
When's this never not good? Like, it's always good. They always reset Lance Archer, and it's always effective. I've just seen the process a lot, and I think I want to be more interested in Wardlow.
I just don't know when he's going to come back. I'm sure. Was it around the time of Adam Cole's return that they dropped a Lance Archer in action on Rampage? And I thought, ooh, maybe they're teeing him up for Adam Cole because he's got the claw, like the head injury from Cole, like what a first opponent that would be for Cole. And he just disappeared again. So I just don't know. I really enjoyed this in and of itself, but I'm not like fantasy booking his next 3 months because very rarely do they happen. It's such a shame because Archer's just so much fun.
I'm staggered he didn't call out MJF.
I know.
I want that title. You always want that title. That's the problem.
Excalibur talks about the world video premiere of Swerve Strickland's remix theme, Big Pressure, which comes out on Friday, I believe, on YouTube. And then Strickland and Prince Nana are walking through the graffiti park in Houston. And Strickland, Nana's putting all this over. And Strickland's like, yeah, I should be excited. Why am I not then? He said, because I should be celebrating with the TNT title. Bloody Hangman Page. And he says to Page, remember, it's not always you who pays for your actions.
Low-key. Promo of the year for me, this. Like, said so much by saying so little. Swerve as the vibe killer with one of his only friends is just incredible. How he turned this into this, like, pitch black serious scene when Nana has specifically brought him here in, like, a celebratory mood.
Yes.
That's Swerve Strickland right now.
Yeah.
I defended when Trench rocked up because...
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because other than the food choices he used to make, Sidge, I forget what Trench used to get when he was picking his vegetables.
I've had peas before.
He looked like the sort of person Swerve would happen upon and be like, you, I'm going to get in some fights and I want you.
Yeah.
I believed it, right? And
It's a shame he, carry on.
yeah. But this is Swerve. Like, he is scary. Like, he is angry and he is bitter because of what Hangman Page has done. And no one can have a nice time. Not even if it's a nice time about him, which this is, because Hangman Page has wronged him, and like Hangman Page as a babyface cannot sanction what Swerve said. If that's a threat to his friends, if that's a threat to his family, if that's like the Young Bucks in trouble, or that's like...
Have to fly to Reseda, bloody hell. Come on, lads, I need you back on telly. I miss you.
Don't know where they are. I don't miss them, but I don't know where they are. But that's who Swerve's threatening, and we know that Page is fiercely loyal to his friends and his supporters and stuff like that, and that's scary. It's really frightening stuff, and to Sidge's point earlier on about, like, this is a great rematch company still. I cannot wait for the rematch. I cannot wait for the rematch.
Then the moment we'd all been dreading, as Tony Schiavone introduces Sting down to the ring. He comes down, gives us a big woo, great reaction, of course, for Sting, and he takes a moment to reflect on everything. Talks about traveling up and down the road with legends like Luger, Bagwell, Steiners. Then they look at the generations ahead of them, guys like Dusty Rhodes, the most charismatic human being of his life, Hogan, who gets the reaction you'd expect. Talks about Hogan transcending wrestling and Sting learning stuff from him. And then he talks about Ric Flair, of course. Thank you for all the moments, the Clash, what a moment.
He's been forgiven, evidently. I didn't
I was
like
waiting,
that.
yeah. It's court of public opinion.
Yeah.
The Bash in 90 thanks him again. They would sit there and wonder what makes these guys come back decade after decade. What more have they got to prove? Why are they hanging on? And he says, look, it's the smell of the arena, being with the guys, traveling around the globe, the roar of the crowd. And then he starts hinting at that word. But before he gets them, you still got it chant. He says, I know what some people are thinking. I retired once already, but my retirement in 2015 didn't sit right. And there's one very key moment in that speech. The only thing for sure about him is nothing for sure, and that brings him to retirement. He says, my first match with AEW was Revolution 2021, and my last match will be Revolution 2024. And there's only one key thing we need to know. The one thing for sure about Sting is his retirement is for sure.
Oh, this is class. Like, what a talker. What a hero. Like, what a guy. I loved it. You could have said anything. I've been on the hook. Like, I did think, because it was kind of out of nowhere, that was he just going to drop it now and say, I kind of have to, I'm sorry. So I got a bit of relief.
I thought he was going to say full gear. And I was like, oh.
I thought he was just like done. Dunsky Jones. Like. But I was very, very relieved when we get more Sting, because I've been guilty this year. And I know he was much better in 2021. Like, oh my God, Sting in 2021 against 2.0, a Grand Slam FTR.
First powerbomb when Brian Cage just crumpled him.
Yeah, double or nothing.
The dive.
He just killed him.
Yeah, and then when they did the suplex at double or nothing, and he just popped straight back up and no sold. I'm like, yeah.
Oh my God.
I think they've just done a phenomenal job. A lot of people don't think Tony Khan's a good booker. I think that's moronic. I think he's one of the greats.
That's like a present tense thing rather than a general.
I just think there are people who like AEW who don't necessarily think it's that much of a result of it. Tony Khan's booking or input, and it's all roster. And I think that's absolutely stupid. Moronic. Absolutely moronic. The absolute ultimate incontrovertible proof is in how he's packaged Sting. Like Paul Heyman. Did Paul Heyman do as good a job as hiding the positives, hiding the negatives and doing the positives? It's pure magic what they've done. And I've been guilty. I don't think Sting's been at his best this year, and nothing ever lasts forever. I've maybe been guilty of going on in this Sting match. That was fun. This is brought into focus of just enjoy it. It's been such a ride. It's been class. Like pure magic.
It's less explicit than the Ric Flair win or retire story, but it's kind of the same thing. Every heel now should be gunning to either have the match that retires him at Revolution or try and stop him getting there by retiring him first. Like, introducing a countdown clock on a character like Sting is amazing, because it's just this legacy babyface. When you said about Paul Heyman hiding the negatives, I was thinking of aging veteran Terry Funk as babyface world champion. And it was the same with Funk. It's like, well, how?
I mean, to be fair to Heyman, he did it with loads of them.
Oh, he did, yeah.
He
but
got
like,
Tommy Dreamer over.
You watch Terry Funk, you're like, well, how much longer can you keep doing this? And Sting is in that position now. I think that's fair to say. But all of a sudden, any time you book him, there's going to be all this extra heft. Somebody is going to be having one of Sting's last matches. Everybody should want it in reality, let alone kayfabe. But the things proper bad guys can do with this. We just talked about one. I was like, what if it's Swerve Strickland at Revolution? That's horrifying.
Yeah.
Like we think it's going to be Darby Allin, right? Because he wants to get in there before Darby Allin gets up Everest.
Yes.
But like, if it's a heel that wants this spot, you've got stories to tell with
It'll
this.
have to be a tag at least. I don't need a Sting singles match.
I think it's a Sting. He's never worked singles. I think it's singles. I don't know if the belt's on a heel. I think I think you shape Revolution around Sting's retirement.
You're gonna have a retiring boys match as well with Danielson involved at some point.
Oh yeah, him and Danielson before Sting. Yeah.
Right, we get the second film from Toni Storm, Gone with the Storm, featuring RJ City. Oh, well, RJ City actually introduces it, and she says, chins up, tits out, enjoy the film. Again, this is one of those things that's in picture. It's a silent film, and it's rubbish. But what do you think of it? I'm not a fan of this.
Yeah. This stuff, AEW's taking it too far with these pre-tapes and all the rest of it. Like, it works so well in the context of it being a backstage segment with Renee Paquette. Because Toni Storm being kind of, like, you can see her tethered to the reality but fraying away from it.
Yeah.
And that's the magic. When you create a new reality for Toni Storm to be goofy in, it's just not the same. It doesn't have the charm. It doesn't feel remotely believable. It's just wacky and stupid, and it compromises everything else on the show to a degree. To have it post-produced and just making films, and it's just so literal. Like, that off-kilter
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
element really, really worked so incredibly well, and now it's just daft and stupid. And it was a bit crass, but I don't think you would have understood that.
Yeah.
You do, obviously, you just laughed. Thus blowing the bid.
I think he'll do it anyway.
I think the thing I have with this is I love this Toni Storm character. People are going to think, oh, you just don't like the Toni Storm. I love the Toni Storm character. You've nailed it there. I was trying to work out why I didn't enjoy this. You know, I loved all the other stuff. Watch out for the shoe and the matches we've talked about previously. But it's, you're right. It's one step too far with all this. What did you think?
Because I've only ever seen this in the context of the ad breaks, I think this is kind of inspired. They are not using this. They're not using the device as a part of Toni Storm's character. They are using Toni Storm wanting to make films as a clever way to kind of have you watching the show rather than the adverts. I can totally understand why I couldn't imagine sitting through last week's on Fight TV.
I watched through this week's on Fight TV.
Excruciating. Like, this one I would imagine was slightly better, but last week's especially would have been excruciating. See us like just doing the silent movie gestures with just music.
It's like you're trying to make people go and watch NXT.
You can't hit. This is no different, right? This is no different to Sammy Guevara's cue cards as a nice thing to put in the adverts instead of a headlock, instead of an unconvincing portion of a match where the wrestlers have been told to slow it down. That was
why I was confused as to why they never advertised, Sammy Guevara's going to have his cue cards.
And that's what I agree with. That is weird because she said, like, so you see it on full screen and it's like, and roll the footage, and then it immediately cuts to picture in picture. So it's really well produced in that respect. And then it's like, I get what they're doing. It's an advert break thing like Guevara's cue cards. I'd take this 10 times out of 10 over a match being broken up with a headlock spot. I would. Only Bryan Danielson and very few select others make those advert minutes count. So I'd rather
Emi Sakura.
I'd rather this kind of nonsense, to be honest, like than a match. Like, just fit the matches in, make them shorter. Like,
What's happened to you?
Toni Storm. This is pro wrestling, lads. Like the matches, them. Like, keep them short and have more stuff like this. But Toni Storm's still got to be a wrestler. I think both can coexist. But I don't love this. I'm not saying this is like
you watched The New Generation and fell in love with it.
Yeah, I'm not watching that. I'm not saying this is a high concept or anything.
It's so much better when she was a wrestler who flirted with the visual imagery of a fading starlet to convey that she's kind of losing her mind, and she's really funny with it. She's now got two jobs, and that's stupid. That's fundamentally stupid.
I think you can do both. I think you can have both. I think if she's building a match, she can cut that promo.
That's because your favourite era of wrestling, fundamentally, is when Drug Josie was around.
Yeah.
No, she's got one job.
One thing I didn't get a part of it as well, it was just confusing, was she referenced a pearl necklace and then got angry about it. What was all that about?
She thought RJ City was referring to the sexual act where you ejaculate on a woman's neck. And
a little blob of cum.
Several actually. Several drops, and they form the pearl necklace.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And it reminds you of a pearl necklace in colour and trajectory.
But RJ City meant a literal pearl. Well, the film director or whatever role he was playing, I don't pay it much attention.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you did understand.
No, now you've explained it. Now I understand. Right. The next bit I really enjoyed. Jim Ross is backstage with Nick Wayne and his mom. She didn't actually get introduced as Shane. She was just, here's Nick Wayne and here's his mom.
It's so rushed. I wish this was 2 minutes longer.
This was crap.
But yeah,
that was funny though.
Yeah, in terms of the acting.
Christian Cage was funny.
Yeah, Christian Cage.
Yeah, he was all right,
she said, I can't understand I can't understand how Nick could do this. That was her acting, basically. Darby's been like, it's rubbish. Darby's been like a brother to Nick after things.
Nick Wayne's mom is probably f***ing bombed.
I told you he swears way more than me, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Ah, give off, man.
Oh, off.
Yeah. Live. Mosaic tap this.
Hang on, there's another one.
Well, like Morecambe and
See,
Wise. And
you're
another one.
making him groan.
Right, where are we? Oh, yeah, after what Christian Cage said about his father and her, this isn't the way. And Nick says, shut up, Mom! JR's like, watch it, kid. And Wayne says it's time to prove myself.
Sit your ass down.
While I am here. I've got a new father figure. Christian Cage is a better father than my real dad ever was. Cage walked into the shot and said, son, you ready to come home?
Great line. And the way they pulled back to reveal that Christian Cage was in fact there was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Everything else was pretty whack. Like, it was pretty whack.
Yeah, Nick Wayne's, he goes to leave, and Nick's mom grabs him, and he says, you're a terrible mother, and she smacks him, and you just hear Christian goes, oh, don't do that. Which was just obviously...
It was well done, because, like, obviously would never, ever, ever do that. Like, ever. But now that Nick Wayne can say, even though he's the arsehole here, he can now very justifiably say, no, you are.
Yeah. Nick says, you're dead to me. And Cage says, well, should have picked up the phone. And they leave,
the best.
And then you hear a scuffle kicking off, and it's Darby Allin, and he's attacking them, and they brawl out from backstage down to the ring, and Cage and Luchasaurus are there. Sting shows up, sweeps the leg out from Cage, drops Luchasaurus. Nick Wayne's broken his tooth. Darby Allin's broken one of Nick Wayne's teeth. He's bleeding. Sting nearly gets the Scorpion Deathlock on Cage. Luchasaurus saves him, and Sting and Darby Allin stand tall, whilst Tony Schiavone's like, my tooth.
Nick Wayne's a good serendipitous gets injured guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he gets a hard way cut every now and then. Great.
Yeah.
This was, oh, God. I think this is too rushed. Like, they'd have really sort of luxuriated in this ridiculous mood and setup. I think it could have worked. But it was smash cut, right? Start talking, we'll run out of time. The Christian Cage stuff was great. Everything else was a bit of a whiff, realistically.
Yeah, I thought this was a bit of like a tonal nightmare. I thought you were supposed to receive it as wacky at first. Then the brawl was just really serious. There wasn't a hint of irony to the brawl. Then the shift to apparently all of this being live didn't feel remotely real.
I was so thrown by that, yeah.
I think as a viewer, you sort of forget that wrestling still has to follow some of the rules of television, and it just felt like it broke one. The second they came out on the stage, this is now. Like, that didn't compute at all. This, to me, is the opposite of the Paul Heyman thing we were just describing. Nick Wayne has already proven himself an elite wrestler. Like, I'm not saying this heel turn was a mistake.
He's not elite.
He's, a very, very good pro wrestler.
Very, very, very good for his age and very promising.
An incredible ceiling to Nick Wayne's ability as a babyface wrestler. And as a heel, he's feeling like a wish Dominic Mysterio. Like, they're leaning at that comedy, which they don't do as well as WWE. For better and worse, they don't.
They do better comedy better than WWE.
They don't do like bad, wacky knockabout comedy as well as WWE. Like, you know, and that's how I took him here. I was like, I've seen this and I've seen it better. And it's better because Dominic Mysterio was rubbish, like a useless wrestler. Yeah. And that was all the better for it. Nick Wayne's awesome. And I think this is off. I've gone off this heel turn a bit, but I did like the tooth getting smashed out.
And Christian Cage is great.
Christian Cage was great.
He's great.
Renee's backstage.
Also, I'm kind of bored of him in Derby.
It's been a lot.
Sting coming out for this after the retirement
almost as long as Judgment Day versus everybody else.
was like very, very Tony Khan. Sting announcing his retirement should have been the only thing he did, / the main event of the show. And it's like, he's coming out to get involved in this bollocks. Like, didn't like that.
Renee's backstage with best friends and Chris Statlander. And Chris announces she's going to give a title shot to Willow Nightingale.
I mean, making us watch that.
It's going to be a battle of bells. Orange Cassidy's going to face the winner of a match on Rampage. And he says, there's these things that people say. And I think Chuck Taylor helps him say, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. He said, I didn't really understand it until I lost the title. I knew I cared. I didn't know how much. Now I've got it.
Render's last week stupid then. He put Phoenix out of his misery and got a celebration. Now he's happy to have the title back. What a crap segment that was last week. Vindication.
Well, a little bit, yeah. Because have you seen that number one contenders match? It's just a total loser factory. And Orange Cassidy's talking about John Moxley. That's what he's talking. He won't say it, but he means he has to beat John Moxley, and it's just a collection of dweebs in a triple threat to get a title shot. A waste of everybody's time.
Oh, yeah, he's got something to
As soon as he saw John Silver, he just got really angry.
He's in it, but they're all rubbish. I forget who else is in it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Orange
It does
Cassidy
the
will win.
characters.
It doesn't matter. Like, Orange Cassidy will win. Who cares? He wants John Moxley. He doesn't
Wait
want
a second. A title isn't going to change hands at Battle of the Belts. Okay. We'll see how it plays out.
I'm going to start coming in to review SmackDown. I've decided. I'm going to hold it to account.
I'm amazed it took you this long. Have you watched it? It's absolutely goated.
Hang on.
Should have been.
Oh
I
my god.
thought you were going to play the boom, 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 boom.
That's cinema.
Yeah.
Right, time for the second best battle royal of the week. The Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. Juice Robinson.
It was a
Bing
joke
Bang.
about NXT, you know, his
Oh, no,
usual
I
pattern.
was just deciding which was worse. The race to the bottom. It's just, and not speaking of a dweeb factory, this frigging match.
Oh, God, aye.
What was this? Every time the camera cuts to another wrestler. Ugh.
There was a bit when they brought Johnny TV out, and I thought, oh my God, we called Peter Avalon.
It should be Johnny Dark match. I'm not being funny. What's he done? Nout.
I think I've got all of them here. Juice, obviously, Max Caster, Daniel Garcia, Dustin Rhodes, Matt Menard, Jeff Hardy, Trent Beretta, Jake Hager, Commander we got as well, didn't
Yes,
we?
we did,
Johnny TV, Matt Sydal, and Matt Hardy.
No! 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 No!
I gotta go through it, I'll tell you.
MJF was on commentary. Johnny TV immediately eliminates Matt Sydal. There's almost a dance battle with Johnny TV and Daniel Garcia.
No! 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 No!
Because Johnny TV doesn't break dancing, but Daddy Magic stops him.
Just add dancing to anything music adjacent. Jeff Hardy should never be allowed to do, apparently. Can't make music, can't dance to music, can't be around music.
He did get super over with that entrance. Not
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
ever,
And it's not quite as...
but to way more people than me.
Yeah.
So Jeff does his own dance, and Matt Hardy's like, well, I have to do something. And guess what he does? He
Matt Hardy wakes up every day and says, well, I have to do something. Do you?
Jeff's getting into wrestling, so I should. No.
Some deleted, basically, Dustin Rhodes. They team up to
He
eliminate.
used to say, like, I'm amazed he hasn't dislocated his shoulder, getting himself over in other people's segments.
Oh, my God. Oh, God.
Jumping in front of Private Party. Oh.
They eliminate Johnny TV. Matt tried an elbow
We
off
need a
the...
contract story. I'm the one he calls.
Matt tries an elbow off the second rope, but Jake Hager catches him in midair and dumps him out. MJF walks down from commentary and gives Dustin Rhodes some money to kick Juice Robinson in the dick, so he obliges. Commander briefly fights off the JAS, and then, as we called, tries to do something snazzy on the top rope and immediately gets eliminated by Garcia and Daddy Magic. Daddy Magic then gets dropped by Beretta. Rhodes hits a running Canadian destroyer on Garcia, and they do the best friend spot and eliminate Jake Hager. Beretta and Daddy Magic fight on the apron. Garcia saves his pal, and Daddy Magic gets rid of Trent. Jeff Hardy gets a running start, goes for something, but Garcia dodges it and eliminates him. But this time, for the third time, Daddy Magic says, you can't do your dance, Garcia. There's a shoving match. Both men attack Dustin Rhodes. They do the bit where he's holding him up, and he moves, and Garcia hits Menard, and that allows Dustin Rhodes to get rid of Daddy Magic. Garcia gets rid of him. He is down to the final three alongside the only other two people who could possibly win this, Max Caster and Juice Robinson. Garcia does his dance and gets eliminated by Max Caster. And then it's down to these two fighting. Robinson was on the outside. He manages to cut off Caster, who keeps trying to knock him out. Robinson wants a suplex to the floor, but Caster holds on, and they're on the apron, and Robinson rakes the eyes. They scale to the top. Juice falls into the ring, and Caster hits the mic drop. But at that moment, Jay White jumps MJF on commentary. They fight on the stage. MJF actually gets the better of it. He gets his world title back. But as he runs at Jay White nails him with a low blow. This is all distracted Max Caster. That allows Robinson to put on his TJ Maxx ring, knock him out, eliminate him. Juice Robinson wins the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal. And there's a stare down between Bullet Club Gold and MJF. White's holding the title, and Robinson's showing off his ring ahead of next week.
Yeah. I guess this was every battle royale ever except, like, tedious first half, quite exciting finish, where the first half was, like, really annoyingly bad, and the second half wasn't so good that that's your memory of it. I remember that Battle Royal. It was really good because it wasn't that good.
Wasn't Cassidy Swerve, was it?
It was not Cassidy Swerve.
Oh,
God
boy.
damn it! It was not Cassidy Swerve. I never lose sight ever of perspective how privileged I am to do this job, right? And woe was me. You have to watch a pretty rubbish knockabout Battle Royal for 5 minutes. Don't go on your phone. You have to analyze it. I was so tempted to skip to the end when they did the dancing stuff with Jeff Hardy and that. It's just charmless. You're nowhere near as over as you used to be, right? And I hate it. That it just undermines the stakes of what this is for. Do any of them care about the ring? No, it's just a pretty lazy device to get an MJF versus Juice match on the hook.
Close to the gimmick Battle Royal in that regard, isn't it? Go and do your gimmick for 5 minutes. You're on camera at least. Daniel Garcia even. I have loved your takes on Daniel Garcia about the long-term story that feels like it's been frittered away and he is becoming a dancing fool. That's what he was in this match, was a dancing fool.
On the subject of Garcia, this is the other point I want to make before I want to say one nice thing. All right. What possible problem, realistically, could Daddy Magic have with Daniel Garcia's dancing?
The wackiest freak on the roster.
Exactly. So they're telling the story of a dissension within a stable because wrestling needs one more of them. Right. Of Daddy Magic now has a problem with Garcia's dancing. Daddy Magic, and this is a good thing, has spent his entire AEW career just being a bit of a daft clown. He's cut the odd really, really good not babyface, he's cut the odd really, really good promo where he's shown his passion, give you a glimpse into his real life story and his motivation. So he's not completely a clown. That's what he's great at. He's a prelim undercard heel who's goofy, and that's what he's great at.
He's got hard nipples.
And he's got hard nipples. Why? So what is he saying? Oh, don't do that. It's stopping us from winning. Or don't do that. You're better than that. You're a wrestler. Does he want to be a wrestler now? I don't get it. It's stupid. It's just a terrible device to split them up.
Yeah.
Tell you what, though. Last 2 minutes were really dramatic, which is an achievement, I guess, considering it was so signposted that Juice was going to win. And I'm telling you now, I'm such a dickhead, I know. I'm pedantic with my standards. You can have the worst match in history. And if Dustin Rhodes does a destroyer.
Oh my God.
I just love it. And I love
It's fine. That's because we had to have the no button. I need to put them closer together.
Yeah, I like the same as what I was saying about the Max Cass thing before. I think
Let's play that back again, and I'm M. Sidgwick on Hex.
It's worth sticking with because you got that finish. This was in the wrong slot on this show. This was not a main event. This was not the way to leave the broadcast. It kind of undermined MJF and Jay White by it feeling fairly flat. And it's see you next week, fans. Maybe, I guess, because I'm reviewing it. If you put this in the middle of the show at the start and then you move on to something bigger. So I think they got that wrong too. Well, the roster, if you're going to put this in the main slot, you have to have not to neg anyone individually, you've got to have more stars in it if you're going to put this on last. You've got to make the prize feel bigger. It wasn't that.
You're right, there was no angle, and they always need a hook, apparently. I get it, they do need a hook, I'm being facetious. With a keen sense of self-awareness, right, this is a total geek squad in this match. A total squad of geeks, more than most.
We did better. There was a better list of people when we drew it randomly from the roster page on the preview yesterday.
Yeah.
Because we had Lance Archer and I think Joe maybe in there.
And this is not us picking on people. This matters. You're supposed to take that beautiful diamond ring. Sorry, excuse where are my manners? You're supposed to take that
Beautiful diamond ring.
It means the world to MJF,
Yeah.
and MJF's done a good job of conveying that.
and it's won him titles. It's won him big matches. It's not just a prop.
Yeah.
And yet some of the fields suggest that it is, because then you believe, well, what? Were the roster drawing lots backstage, or did some people just, can they not be asked? Those are the questions you'll have to ask.
What's Hager done recently?
When you see this field, yeah.
Stealing a living, come on.
Yeah.
Get out of the bloody ring for once.
Right, well, let us know your thoughts on AEW Dynamite in the comments section or on X at What Culture WWE. Watch that. You can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. As I said, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. If you haven't done so already, we do some of these reviews live, not live, videoed on YouTube. What Culture Wrestling podcast.
In his defense, he's just had a baby, 2 months ago?
2 months ago. What were we in? October? Yeah, 2 months. Eric's 2 months old now. Yeah. Wrestle Culture is live tomorrow. I will say that.
Baby brain is a real phenomenon. I've had it.
So
he's got it.
Yeah, join us for a live Wrestle Culture. A week delayed, but we're going to do it properly this week.
Going well.
On the YouTube, fingers crossed, on the YouTube channel tomorrow. And as I mentioned earlier, whatculture.com/tickets for tickets. Very few left for our
not many, to be fair.
live show. Right, for now, this has been the Dynamite Review. My thanks to the Dadley Boyz as a fellow Dadley Boy. Thanks to our wonderful producer, Adam Nicholas, for putting up with us. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.